Well, hey there, and welcome back. Properties are one of those milestones in learning VBA. Once you can use them, you gain a lot of power. Like we've said before, properties are the adjectives of VBA. They describe a characteristic about an object. We have only used one property so far in this course, and that's value. Value is an important property. It's a property of the range object, and it's used to enter data into a cell, like so. But the rest of the VBA properties have the same general syntax. You will see the Object.Property, then an equal sign, followed by what we call the property value. The property value helps qualify the property. So if the property was cell color, for instance, the property value could be red or blue. So let's see a few examples with familiar objects and learn some of their properties. Let's start with an object we have become quite familiar with, worksheets. Worksheets has a ton of cool properties. For our first example, let's talk about naming worksheets. Now, we already know how to name worksheets manually. We go down to the Worksheets tab in Excel and double-click, and then type in the name that we want and hit enter. But let's learn how to do this with VBA. We do this using the name property. So let's plug this into our syntax model here. We will start with the object first, of course, which is worksheets, and we're making sure to specify which worksheet we want to name. Then we will insert this name property, equal sign, and then we need to qualify or define this property here. That means we're going to specify what the name should be. So I'll just type something in here, and let's run it and see if it works. Cool. Go ahead, pause the video and try this on your own. Now, this will open up a swath of properties to your disposal. There are a ton of properties for which after the equal sign, you can enter in something as text. But there's a whole other class of properties for which you wouldn't enter a text value as the property value. And you need to know how to handle these as well. So for example, let's do wrap text. Let's say my use case is the client needs to be able to wrap the text in cell A2. Well, Worksheets isn't going to help me here because you can't wrap text for an entire worksheet. So let's use what we learned in the last video and use the object browser to figure out which object actually has wrap text as a member. So I'm going to the object browser and I'll search for wrap text, always one-word terms, by the way. Okay, I don't know these other ones, but I do know range, so let's use that. So we're probably going to do something like range, and we're specifying range A2 dot wrap text. And then we know that all properties are followed by an equal sign, so we have the equal sign. But what comes after that? What would the property value be in this case? Wrap text is a special type of property where the property only has really two states, on and off. It can either be or not be. Text can either be wrapped or not be wrapped. Those are the only two possible states. So let's talk about a couple of other examples where we see this all the time. Think of font when you bold it. You can either have font be bold or not bold. Font can either be italicized or not italicized, right? So there's only two possible states. You get where I'm going here. So for properties that have two possible states, we use the Boolean values of true or false to define whether the property should be activated or not. Okay, so let's see that in action. Let's type in true and run this, and voila, it wrapped the text. Now, you're going to have an exercise at the end of this video, but before we do that, I want to talk about one more super neat thing about properties. While you're able to send data to a property in order to make it wrap text, we can also ask a property to return data to us. VBA can actually look at a property and tell you which property value is currently being employed. For instance, is cell A1 bolded? What is the name of this worksheet? Is the text in cell A1 wrapped text? To leverage this awesome trick, you simply need to know how to ask the question. Eventually, we will cover lots of ways that we can ask VBA a question, like message boxes that pop up and tell you the answer, and variables which can save the data so you can use it again later. But for now, we're going to use the fun and easy immediate window. Using the immediate window, you can formulate a question by typing in a question mark first, and then the object.property. Notice we're leaving out the property value because the whole reason we are doing this is because I don't know the property value. So I want VBA to tell me what the property's value currently is. I'll hit enter and okay, cool. This is so handy. And we're going to get some practice asking some questions and using the answers to write effective code statements. Okay, so here's our scenario for this exercise. A user or a client has given you a fully formatted report. This is how they want the report to look after your macro has run. We're going to be using some new properties that we learned in this lesson, and we may also be using some properties that we're not already familiar with, so you may have to go into the object browser to find them. Also, we're not going to know how a couple of these property values should be defined, so we're going to end up using the immediate window to help us figure that out. Okay, start by opening the file in the description of this video. Or if you aren't comfortable downloading files from the internet, you can generate some data that looks like this. Then insert a new module and a new procedure, and then write code that accomplishes the following. The first couple of tasks will be easier. You need to enter text into cell A1 and then bold the font in A1. And then you'll probably need the immediate window to help you figure out the appropriate property values for the next few things. This range's number format here looks very specific, so I'm going to ask VBA how this range's number format should be defined. And after that, these underline styles, it doesn't look like the normal underline to me. It goes all the way across the cell. So we need to use the immediate window to ask what underline property value would accomplish this. A hint on this one, underline is a property of font. It's not a property of range. So you'll need to use the explicit notation to refer to the range, then the font, and then underline. Remember to post on this video if you need any help. And if you get it working, go check out the comment section to see if you can help anyone else. Have fun!